Each of us has a figurative atmosphere. Those individuals we choose to spend our time with. But we need to ask ourselves, are those people willing to celebrate with us on our best day and stand with us on our worst day? Have they provided you with life lessons that can serve as a protection for you? My atmosphere is full of those whom I choose to surround myself with because they make me a better person. My name is Donovan Woods, and the purpose of this podcast is to shine light on some of their stories. I've personally either overcome challenges or I'm continuing to endure based on what I've learned from each and every one of them. Welcome to In Your Atmosphere. So Eboni, thank you for joining me on my podcast, my little series. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be here. This is my first one, so I'm honored.
Is this your first podcast?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Ever doing this.
I thought you had done one for work, but okay. All right. I think I'm thinking of Rose and a couple other people, Stephanie and Britt. Okay. All right. Well, they got to get you on a podcast. Maybe after this, you'll be on the Convenience Matters podcast. But you will, because you have a lot to offer. So that's kind of why I invited you to my little podcast series. But let me ask you a question. I've kind of asked this of all the guests, and they didn't know this was coming. I kind of told you something was coming, but you don't know what it'll be. Why do you think I chose you to be part of this podcast series?
Honestly, I have no idea. When you said it, I was like, I'm honored. I'm really honored. And, I'll take my flowers while I'm here. I'm not sure why.
That's fair. And you know what? Then that's really the reason why. Because if you'd had an answer, then you probably shouldn't have been on my podcast. I wouldn't have really considered you. But it's number one, the first quality that you have is humility. Since I met you back in 2016, I think you started working at NACS. We were working at the same place for about almost 6 years. Your humility, you were younger, you're significantly younger than me, but you were younger then. And I just appreciate it, especially because we had a good group of young people at the time, at NACS. And you stood out in the sense that you were never part of really any rumor mill. By the time I left in late 2021, you still hadn't been. It was always positive things I heard about you. So that stood out to me. You were not only humble in the sense that you listened to advice from me. I mean, that's kind of arrogant of my part, but it was more so you not only listened, but you sometimes from time to time, you would seek out advice before you would make a move. And you would, not just me, other people, you run things by people. You didn't think you were the smartest person in the room. You took advantage of all the things that you had available to you. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that for the audience later. That was just one quality. The other quality, I wrote these down, is growth. And I watched you kind of go from just someone that I felt was like mentor, mentee. Trust me, when you hit over 40, it'll be easy for you to say mentor, mentee. And you grew from that into being a peer. It wasn't really about your age anymore. You were a peer. I looked to you for different things. I brought things to you as well as personal, as well as professional. I don't want to get your feedback. And I think that's important to have people that are younger than you, for me at least, around me for different perspectives. And you didn't, how do I put this? You were always you went from being this little quiet person in your office who never left your office, which is probably how you never got involved in any rumors. Exactly. To being like really a vocal leader on different things that came up socially, as well as just your own viewpoints on things, even on social media, LinkedIn, for example. And then finally, the last thing that I'm going to stop talking, I want you to talk more, is your respect for yourself. And that's not going to be an obvious one. I'm not saying that you are a woman who wears certain clothes or you do certain things that other women don't. I'm not judging either or. It's more so you never really allowed your youth to be an excuse for anything that was happening in your life. Whatever came across your way, you never used any of maybe your bad decisions or maybe your youth or maybe your imperfections, anything. You never let any of that be an excuse for what you want to get to next. And I've always admired that about you. Never really And anything you've ever told me, you've never been like, well, because this happened, then it's because I did this. Never, never to this date have you ever done that. And I think that's something I can definitely learn from. And I want people like that, like yourself, around me in my circle. So I want to get people to get to know you better. And this is kind of a good way to do this. I'm going to start this little quote that you put on social media.
Okay.
And then I want you to tell people why you put what you put. You don't even know I'm going to say. I love that.
I don't know. I have no idea.
So I was on your LinkedIn page and you posted something probably 2 months ago, and you were happy. You were positive. So it's a positive thing and not anything negative. It's not from like, Facebook or Twitter or something like that. Instagram. It's definitely from LinkedIn. I don't know how far
down in the vault that you went.
Nope. This is a month ago. Exactly 1 month ago. You said this. You said, for a while, I felt unsure about my career path. Things felt haphazard and I was just going through the motions. I finally feel like I found my place. What an honor to be recognized amongst 39 of my peers in this amazing industry. And you were being recognized as being in that 40 under 40 recipients. First of all, congratulations. I never reached that. I never even thought to reach that. And you did that.
Thank you.
But explain that to me. Explain what you were saying. Like, why did you write that? And how is that the way you introduced this success to everyone else?
Well, because like I said, for a while, I just was sometimes I felt like I was just working or, I need to go to work. I need a job or, go to school because that's what you're supposed to do. So sometimes I found myself not doing things with a greater purpose involved. And when you don't do things that have a greater purpose, sometimes you don't feel like you're making an impact or you kind of feel lost or you just don't have that drive, So I felt like finally I found my place. And I was being recognized for finally finding my place. It was kind of like just the affirmation and the good job that I needed to say you're on the right track. So that's kind of where that was coming from.
Does it matter to you? Do you need that? Because I want people to watch this and to be able to pick up things, the same things I pick up from you or any of the other guests on this series. Is it important to be recognized by others?
I would be lying if I said no. So yes, it is important, especially people you care about. Yep. It's important to be recognized by people you care about. Other times, not really. Sometimes you do things for yourself to feel accomplished, to meet your own milestones, to be your own competitor, and just be better than the person you were yesterday. So, kind of not really answering the question, but by the people you love, for sure, it does matter to be recognized.
No, that's exactly. There was no right or wrong. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like you can get trapped into only getting that feedback from others to give you your self-worth. And I don't think that's what you did here, because that's not who I've seen you as. That's just, I'm glad you posted it, because one, we would have never known. And I think sometimes people need to make us aware of their success, in a way that isn't arrogant or, kind of like bragging, but also a way that's inspiring. I think that's how you did it. You put it in a way that was very inspirational. Is that fair? I wanted to, just even on my road to getting that award. And I'm still at the beginning of my career, but even on the road you
to
ain't that young. Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
Don't be a hater, Don.
It's in my nature. Go ahead.
So even to getting to, this marker in my career, I was looking back on the help that I've gotten and people like you who, for no reason other than wanting to give an encouraging word, wanted to be nice, wanted to say something encouraging, wanted to give me a resource, wanted to connect me with someone to expand my network, only for my benefit, not so they could get anything out of it. I hope to be doing the same. So if people know that I have this network and that I've reached this milestone and they want that too, I hope that they feel like they can approach me and I can be helpful like people have helped me.
Very fair. Fair enough. Now, tell me how you became aware of this, because again, the person I met back in 2016 to who it would have taken for you to actually pursue this, those are two different people. So how did you, not so much how did you get there? We're going to talk about that in a second, but more so this specific recognition. What effort did it take on your behalf of actually letting people know about who you were, your success, and in a way that was not bragging, but really shining light on things you've done?
So, okay. So how did I get to that award there? It was the network that I built up over the last year, I would say. So the pandemic was, 2020 was definitely, we were sat down and we had to sit down. While we were still working, we had more downtime. We weren't traveling to and from offices. We weren't picking kids up from school and things like that. Like there was more downtime and it was just like a stillness, a time for quiet. So I was able to kind of look and say, what do I want? Like, what do I want out of my career and things like that? And I reached out to someone I went to college with, his fiance, or his now wife. They got married last month. His wife is in the association industry. And I saw her being vocal, using her voice, being a thought leader in the association space. And I asked him to connect us. And she told me about a program at ASAE called DELP, Diversity Executive Leader Program. And I wanted to do that. So she connected me with some other people. So it's just like, it's a network connection is really how. And then 2020 also just, the racial unrest and all that was happening. All of it gave me just a sense of purpose of like, of do something or be something, speak up. So I used all of that to kind of motivate me to just tell people who I was, really, to be courageous enough to network with people that I didn't know, women that I didn't know, and they were all very helpful and encouraging, like, go for it. Because I was feeling, at one point I was feeling like, I just got interested in this. You guys have been doing it for this. You're just comparing myself to them. And they're like, no, you can do it. You want to do it. You're capable. You can. So that's how I got there. And I guess to sum it up, really it was a network of Black women, to be frank.
Very nice. And I mean, again, this is not who I met in 2016. So there was a transformation. And I think that's important for your story or your episode. This is because people should never feel like who they are right now in this moment is who they will always be, for better or worse. They can either improve or really you can go backwards. You're not, it's not set in stone for you as long as you're alive. So tell people about you a little bit. Take me back to when you were 21. You faced, and I don't want to call it a challenge because that's the wrong word. I want to call it an eventual blessing, an eventual good thing to happen to you. But in the moment, what was going on for you when you were 21?
So, 21. That was like 10 years ago. How old am I? 11 years ago.
It starts to go by, I'm telling you.
It feels like a while ago, but I was in college. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University. I was in college. I was in a relationship. I was in school, and I wasn't doing well in school, just to be honest. I wasn't doing that well in school. And I found myself pregnant. I was pregnant. So I had my daughter. I stayed in school, and I was working at the same time. So so it's so interesting. Some people have different things that motivate them and different things that, drive them for things. Like I said, I wasn't doing well in school, but it was like something switched. As soon as I got pregnant, it was like, I cannot play around anymore. Like, I need to finish school. I need to get a great job. I have another person that depends on me. So it was like this switch just flipped immediately. So yes, I was in school, pregnant. I was working, and I was due March 2011.
Okay.
And December 13th, 2010, I was woken up by contractions. I didn't know that I was having contractions. I thought my stomach was hurting. I was just like, why does my stomach keep hurting? The night before, I had studied for finals. I had a statistics final.
Oof. Okay.
I had studied, and that Monday morning I had a final. So, again, I'm waking up all through the night, and I was like, something's not right, because I knew I was pregnant, but I was only 24 weeks pregnant. So I wasn't sure I hadn't gone that far into my pregnancy to know the things to look out for if something's not right.
Right.
So, I knew something wasn't right though. So I called my, doctor at the time, and they were like, this definitely sounds like contractions. You need to come in. Do not drive. And it was snowing that day.
Of course.
So I had to call my friend. She came and got me. We went to the hospital. Mind you, I felt fine, just contraction pains. Donovan, thank God you don't have to worry about what that feels like.
Sure don't.
It literally takes your breath away. It's one of those things, like, as the pain is happening, you cannot breathe or talk or anything. It's horrible. So, my friend took me to the hospital. I got to the hospital.
Let me, real quick, just for context, because not all of us, and I'm really doing it for myself. How many weeks should you be when you're giving birth? What's a good amount of weeks where a baby is like fully at term, whatever that terminology would be?
I believe they say like the 38 to 40 week.
Okay.
So I was 6 months pregnant. That is, you're pretty much, think about it. If it's 40 weeks that you're supposed to be pregnant, 20 is your halfway point. I was 24 weeks. I was just a little bit over being halfway done.
Okay.
So I go to the hospital, and they have me hooked up to all this stuff, give me medicine to try to stop the contractions. And they are giving me a sonogram, and my daughter's head first. And then they're like, she's 1 pound, 9 ounces. Like, you cannot have this baby today. There's going to be a 50-50 chance that she makes it if you have this baby today. So, of course, I'm freaking out. I'm 21. And I think any age, that is frightening. That's frightening. So, they gave me medicine. The contraction stopped for a little bit, but then they started again. My water broke. I delivered my daughter.
Wow.
Naturally. No, anything. There was no time for that. It was just like she wanted to come out. And I was so like, why are you trying to come out? Your birthday's in March. This is a week before Christmas. I don't have Christmas gifts for you. None of that. Like, why? You need to stay where you're supposed to be. So she came. And again, 1 pound, 9 ounces. That was rough. That was really rough. I don't think when they first showed me her, I couldn't look at her, because all I could think about was a pound of flour or sugar. That's all I could think about.
Right.
How fragile and how little that is. You're not supposed to be here yet. You're not fully developed. So that's my birthing story. And then because she was so little, she was in the hospital in the NICU for 3 months. So she came home around my due date is when she came home around. Okay. And she was about 5 pounds when she came home. But for 3 months, she was in the hospital. And every day I would go see her. Every day, drive up after classes or after work, I would go see her every single day. And it became a point in time because I didn't stop going to school. I never stopped going to school. I told my professors what happened. They were like, we didn't even know you were pregnant. I was like, I know. It's fine. So I told my professors. They let me make up all my finals. Then I registered for my next set of classes because I couldn't let that stop me. Like, I couldn't, if I let that stop me, I was fearful that it would be hard to get back on and keep going. So I was like, I can't let this stop me. It's going to be difficult, but I can't let it stop me. So I went back, I stayed in school, never stopped school. I did end up stopping work though. So I stopped going to work for a little bit because just classes, going back and forth to the hospital. And the hospital wasn't just she was just there. It was just stuff. It was just a lot of things. So that was a rough road, but it was also the thing that kept me going, kind of like my drive, my why became my why of you can't stop. This is not your stopping point here.
Man, that is, that's a deeper story than the way you wrote it. In an essay that I was able to get that information from. I knew parts of that story from just you sharing it over the years, but never to the full extent that you shared in writing. And then even that, man, that's a lot. I didn't know that small. And how did that turn out?
I have a 10-year-old. I have a 10-year-old. I have a college degree. I have a 10-year-old. She'll be 11 in December. She'll be 11 next month. She's healthy. She's normal. She plays basketball. She dances. She had occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy for like the first 2 years of her life, because when you're preemie, they say that it takes about 2 years to catch up. Like you're always going to be behind. And at 2 years old, she tested out of all of those things. Wow. So that's how it turned out.
And see, that's encouraging for me. You know part of this, but you don't know all of it. Just with my father having a stroke, in the fall of 2021. And that's the thing that we're in the midst of right now is I didn't know these terms, OT, PT, ST, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. There's always a hole in the world when you're not involved in something that you don't know exists. And now seeing this whole world of people, that have these issues that are way bigger than his. Some are way, a little bit less than his, but most of them going in, most of these people that I see in this unit that he was in for, having a stroke did not talk back, did not have any ability to walk. So it's a little encouraging to hear you say that, just because I know that from what I saw him the day it happened to roughly a month and a half later, seeing the progress. And then now that I'm with him every day, because he moved in with us for a while, it's almost like, well, is it still improving? But I know it is, but now I'm not seeing him as often. But he's significantly older than, your daughter was, Brielle. I don't want to say her name, but I just did, is before, this happened to him. But the human body's ability to, with those different therapies and the people who work with you, the types of people that have to do these jobs and the patience they have is amazing. And your story is amazing. And there's someone that's going to hear this, whether male or female, old or young, that will take bits and pieces of it. We don't all have to have a child. We don't all have to be in college. We don't all have to be women. But just here's your situation. I won't even call again, not a challenge. Here's your situation. What do you do? And you never gave up on the things that were most important to you. How, if you were to just say, before you have to say anything, you've already said this. Let me read what you wrote. One of the last sentences of your essay. You said, I want my accomplishments, despite challenging circumstances. That's better than a challenge, but a challenging circumstance, to be a testament to where ambition and resilience can take you. And I think that's a powerful statement. I think it sums up who you are. And I think those you work with are seeing you grow in different ways they weren't expecting. Just two more questions for you, and I'll let you go. Okay. The first is this. What do you think your daughter will take from this? Not right now, not when she's a teenager in a couple of years, but more when she's your age, when she was born. What do you think your story will tell her?
Are you supposed to cry on this podcast?
I'm trying. I'm trying.
I don't want to. I don't even remember your question, but
sure you don't. How about this? Let's take the personalization out of it. What does your story up till now, specifically what you went through when you were 21, and it's not like she, was here and now all of a sudden she's 11 years old. There were years of you growing with her.
Yeah.
What has that given you as far as the freedom of speech to say to other young women and young men? What do you take away? It's like, if you were to take something out of your story to share with them, what part would you share?
I would share that I didn't let that stop me, and don't let things stop you. I would share that circumstances are, they have an expiration date. While there may be more in several, or they may show up in different ways, they have an expiration date. Once you learn how to get through one, that just look at that as your experience to get through whatever else is coming your way. And it sucks. This is not easy. It's hard, but it's inevitable, right? Challenges are inevitable. Inconveniences are inevitable. It's about being connected to something bigger, like not letting that stop you, because that's something that can easily make someone give up. So don't give up, and even if, maybe things, say you want to do something and a situation comes up where an unfavorable situation, right? You find yourself in a circumstance like this is not gonna be conducive to getting me where I want to go. That's okay. Reroute. It's just like never stop finding that next thing. Never stop dreaming. Never stop seeing something bigger. Never stop looking for the what's next. Never stop trying to grow. That's what I would say.
That is perfect. I'm again significantly older than you, and I think I personally can take a lot away from that, because right now that's my struggle. My struggle is I had plans. I had plans, really, from what I feel like in my mind, the first time in my life I have plans. I'm old enough. I have enough. My wife and I have been married long enough. We don't have kids. Like all these things are now coming together. And then a circumstance happened that's outside of my control.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear is when this is at a point when my relative father is healthier. Will I look back and go, dag, I was a jerk, or man, I didn't handle that well. And I think that's something I will keep in mind is, one, circumstances have an expiration date. That is classic. I will hold that. And because I think when I look back on this time, I want to be able to say that I showed him honor. I showed my brother support, showed my mom support, my wife support, everyone who's a part of it. So that's something I will definitely take with me from this conversation. And I mean, I look forward to seeing what comes next for you. It doesn't have to be a job title. It could be just, what happens even through your daughter's life, anything. Yeah. I think you have a lot of things ahead of you. And I thank you for taking time out this afternoon to speak with me. I know you were quite busy, and I think our audience is going to really appreciate just hearing from someone that's had challenges and has just risen above it and never let them stop them. So thank you for being in my atmosphere, being one of my friends. I appreciate you.
Oh, Jonathan, thank you. This was really nice. It feels good to be seen, and feels good to be able to share my story. I've only shared it with my close friends, so this is new for me.
It's going to be out there now.
I'm a little nervous.
Don't. You should be, one. But two, I think it's more, people are going to look at you differently from a way of, it'll be just admiration. You won't know the look because you're not expecting it, but it'll be admiration. And you just don't know if it was one person that can take your story and it gets them through the day, or gets them out of the bed, or keeps them alive, honestly. Because some circumstances people feel like they are never going to end. So I appreciate it. And to that person that's listening one day, hopefully, or watching, they will appreciate it. So again, thank you, Eboni. And thank you everyone for listening. And we will see you on the next episode of In Your Atmosphere.